first, as a reminder, when you are not sure how all the pieces fit together, right? Dissecting is the way to go, right? So you want to know how your computer parts fit together. Well, you open the machine up and you pull everything out and you lay everything out so you can see what you're dealing with. Then you put it back together again. So that's what you're talking about when you're saying, yes, I'm going to pull stuff off to the side. You said, though, that there's a point where you were getting stuck in that nested subproof and, well, generating the nested subproof. So my advice, though, is there, if you've pulled stuff off to the side, maybe what you do is you write out the proof, strike through everything you've already used so that it doesn't clutter up your visual field, right? And you can't strike through stuff you've already used on Fitch, so you've got to do it, pencil paper. And
that's I think I did like 4, and I just kept like scratching it. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait for lecture tomorrow so I can ask.
Well, so let me ask you this then. Are you comfortable with, or are you comfortable with this? When you saw how the one way that we went, how it worked, and you said, oh yeah, that works, can you articulate to yourself why it works? So how you then saw the steps lay out without actually seeing them on the page having laid out, like you anticipated the steps. Does that question make sense?
Kind of. So every subproof, what I've been doing is just focusing on that subproof and to see what rule I'm going to use to get the end result that I desire. So I'm manipulating what I want. But what you were saying, so I don't get lost in the premises, to dissect each premise.
Yeah.
So that way it makes it a little bit easier for a visual when I start going into the subproofs.
Yes. Yeah. So let's try that here. So you should now see a new argument. The first line reads as follows: if I have A, then I have B. The second line reads as follows: it's not the case that I have C or not A. And then the conclusion is B. Now, Elizabeth, going back, so let's do 2 things. First, let's work backward from our conclusion. One of our strategies is this: when our conclusion is an atomic sentence, we go ahead and say that we're going to reject the conclusion. I don't believe you. I don't believe the argument's valid. I believe the conclusion is false while the premises are true. And in setting the thing up, we know that we are, in setting the thing up, what I mean by that is in setting up negation intro as our strategic subproof, we're saying that we want to generate a contradiction, exit the subproof, so that we can say, in fact, B must be true. So go ahead and look at the negation intro subproof rule, look at what we've set up, ask if we've set it up correctly. Fitch tells us we have. Now let's think about sketching stuff off to the side. So if we're pulling stuff off to the side, let's do this. I have A, arrow, B. What do I do with arrows? Well, I eliminate them. When I'm given an arrow, I eliminate it. But I also know that in order to eliminate the arrow, or more specifically to eliminate from the right side of the arrow B, I need A. And I don't yet have B. Or sorry, I need A and I don't yet have A. So I'm going to box up what I want and don't have, and I'm going to say, well, I'm going to need to make some sort of an assumption at some point. Now let's look at line 2. Remember, line 6 says that we want to generate a contradiction. Well, the good news is that, oops, come on. The good news is that I can generate a contradiction between line 2 and the sentence C or not A. But then the question is this, well, how am I going to get C? C doesn't exist, right? How am I supposed to derive it? It doesn't exist for me. In order for me to get the sentence C or A, right? Don't I need to have C? Well, I can get C or A on the assumption that I have not A. I can introduce the disjunction. So then the question is, well, how do I get not A? Well, remember that denying the consequent or modus tollens rule that we proved? You can get not A from the negation of the consequent at line 1. Right? So does it make sense to say, guys, that as you're pulling this stuff off to the side, you're actually helping yourself see a way forward? Are we ready? If I, whoopsie, sorry guys. If I assume A, right, so this should look familiar now because we worked this earlier in another context. Thoughts? My first question for you guys is this, and please do me a huge favor. Give me a thumbs up, verbally say, yeah, something, right? Give me a thumbs down, whatever. Are you comfortable with what we just did?
Yeah. Not with number step 8.
Okay, Dereje saying no on number 8. Awesome. So we'll come back to that. Anybody else? Any thumbs down anywhere? And don't be shy. You can type your message if you want. You can use the emoji things, since we're moving back to cuneiform. Or is it hieroglyphics? No? All right. So, Dereje, number 8. Would you find number 8 more, would you find that number 8 resonates with you more if we had done this instead?
Still the same.
Right. Are you still, but are you still finding it to be confusing? The line itself.
I just got it up. You're gonna introduce. It's gonna negate with line number 2, right?
It will, yeah.
Contradict. Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw it now.
Yeah, there you go. So here's what I'm thinking might have happened for you, but tell me if I'm wrong. it seemed to you, because C appeared first, like it's just how can you justify that? It seems to come out of nowhere. But does it make sense to say that the disjunction introduction rule says that if a sentence is true, a disjunction is true, and it doesn't matter. So there's a truth functional equivalence between, in this case, C or not A and not A or C. They say the same thing truth functionally.
I see it now.
All right, what do you guys think? Are you liking this one? Are you saying, yeah, looks good to me?
Makes sense.
Okay, good. And I hope, as I'm going through each of the citations and justifications, you're saying, yeah, that's what I had, yay.
Oh, Mia, before I forget, so your additional practice for practice 6 to 8, which is easy, we're doing this is just filling in what the rule is. I can't tell which is the premises for the steps because there's no line to indicate which is a premise and which is not.
Oh, okay. So let's look at that. Yeah, let's look at that.
Yeah, because I have to look at the answers sheet to see which ones are the premises.
Okay. So we're good so far. We like this one. Okay, now
Yes,
it does make sense. Okay.
Yep. Yes.
Good. All right, now, Kate, let's take a tour over to what you're talking about. So we're talking about additional practice, and by the way, under the practice exams and keys, Deb reminded me that one of the practice exam keys, I didn't link one of the practice exam keys, so I will do that. But so Kate, which one were you talking about again? I'm sorry.
The low level difficulty.
For 6 and 8.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then you were talking about, you're talking about the key, or?
I just can't tell which ones are the premise and which ones are, I guess, the assumptions.
Oh.
So I can in the rules.
Okay, so yeah, and I apologize because I think way back when I first made up these exercises, I was a short story is there was sort of limited functionality, I think, in terms of or maybe I just ran out of time, I don't know, but so I gave you the vertical lines, but I didn't give you, for example, the Fitch bar. So here's what you want to think. Two things. One is the last. So the last premise will have to the right of it, behind a slash, the conclusion. And it's sort of my version of, and textbooks have this, other textbooks have this as a layout. That's where I got it from. You'll have a slash and then the conclusion to the right of the slash.
Okay, I see it now because I was doing the same. I was doing the next question.
Okay.
And I look at the answer sheet to see where it ended, and that's where it ended, where you have the goal.
Yeah, I apologize. At some point, I'm going to have to go back into these additional practice exercises and maybe just do something like throw them into Fitch, or just make the premise the initial premise is clearer, as well as, I think the assumptive step makes sense because you've got the indented sequence.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that, but you're okay now.
It's okay. The
Okay.
way you described it, it makes sense, so I can finish them without looking at the answer key.
Yay, good, good. Okay, and good for you. One of the reasons why I wanted to pause our practice to look at what you're talking about is it gives us an opportunity to remind ourselves, A, that we have the additional practice, and B, it's worth doing it because, you know, as with any skill building, practice is essential. Okay, so let's go back to practice. Are we ready for another one? Yes, Mia, we love it. We can't wait. All right. I'm stealing, by the way, from some other textbook, so uh, we'll see how long these proofs take us. All right. So how about this? So A arrow, B A disjunction, C B arrow, not C, C, if and only if. It's my shortcut for if and only if. I don't remember, so I'm just going to use the button. And so, and then that's not D. And then our goal is D if and only if B. Okay, now I changed some letters, so bear with me. I want to just make sure that I have got the, I've made my substitutions. What am I trying to say? That I have made the correct substitutions. Okay, so I'm going to throw the conclusion into the inference, first inference line, and I'm going to say that I've done this correctly. Yay. Okay, good. All right, so here we go. There's a lot to look at, right? We know that already. But we also know that when our conclusion is a biconditional, what do we do? So let's look at our rule sheet, right? We see that when we want to achieve a biconditional, when we want to achieve a biconditional, what do? We set up biconditional introduction. Typically, it's a immediately successive set of subproofs, right? Where first we assume one side, derive the other, then we assume the other side, derive the one. Think about your biconditional intro as a double conditional intro subproof set, right? If I have D, then I have B, and if I have B, I have D. So if I have D, I have B, and vice versa. In other words, D if and only if B. Okay, so remember our strategy. When you want to achieve a biconditional, set up biconditional intro. Check to make sure we've set things up right. Now let's take a look at what we've got. We have an arrow we want to dismantle. How do we dismantle that arrow? By getting A. So I'm going to put over here, I need A. Line 2, I have a disjunction. Set up disjunction elim. Line 3, I have an arrow, right? I need B in order to derive not C. And sorry guys, I should put that same note, same type of note up here. I need A in order to derive B. And then I need C or not D in order to dismantle the biconditional. Right, so this is another way that I'm trying to have us think about pulling stuff off to the side, right? Okay, so take a look at line 4, take a look at line 5. Take a look at line 3, take a look at line 2 and 4. Take a look at line 1, take a look at line 2. Take a look at line 1 and line 3, right? Do you see how there are several ways that you can proceed? But let's continue with the backward working, right? On the assumption I have D, I want to derive B. Okay, how do I get B? Well, one way that you can think about proceeding is by way of negation intro, right? What else can you do? And then if you say, well, gosh, I'm really not sure, here's something else you can think about doing. You could say, you know what, I don't have to start with the first biconditional subproof sequence. I can start with the second one, right? On the assumption I have B, on the assumption I have B, I'm going to derive D, right? Well, D is an atomic sentence. What if I say I don't have D, right? What if I go ahead and work the derivation of D by way of negation intro? So, well, let me assume I don't have D. What do I want? A contradiction, so that I can get out and say that at what is at present 9 through 11 gets me a contradiction, and that will be negation intro. And then what do you notice happens when you derive or when you assume that you have not D? Well, take a look at lines 4 and 9 and you get C. Do you automatically get your contradiction? No. But you notice that, well, hey, C, you notice, hey, I've got C. If I could get not C, then I'd have my contradiction. Oh, look, I assumed I have B, which means now that I can, by conditional elimination, get not C. There's my contradiction. What do we think? So far we've used 3 and 4. Now let's come back up here. What do you guys think? What do you think will work for a strategy? Remember, what you want to get is B.
Does it have to do with C, or because of not C and then B?
Yeah, look, yeah, Elizabeth, really nice. Yeah, so what I think, so what Elizabeth's saying is that if we can get C and not C, right, then we'll be able to have a contradiction that yields, from which anything follows, namely B. The only way, though, to generate C and not C is either, or sorry, let me rephrase that. I said the only way. There are two ways to generate C. One is if you have not D, another is by disjunction elim. Now, the benefit of disjunction elim is that you could, right, generate B. And now the question is how you're going to generate the contradiction. Right? Does this make sense? Ivan, what are you thinking? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, I was because I thought you had asked what we would do there.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
So by conditional elimination, where you get not D.
Okay, and so now notice, so can we take Elizabeth, what you said, and Ivan, what you said, and combine them? Elizabeth is thinking about the contradiction between C and not C. If that makes you focus sort of myopically, which in this case would limit you, right? Then you're going to feel stuck. But if you say, how am I supposed to get not C? Well, I need B, but I can't get B because A is in a separate subproof sequence. Then I think, Elizabeth, where you would end up, though, if you followed that line, is you'd say, well, wait a minute. What do I really want? I said I wanted a contradiction. And then that brings you to what Ivan just saw. Right? Take a look at 5 and 9. What do we think? Let's see if I can get this all in one. Well, it's kind of hard to get it all in one view. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, guys. Let me bring us all back together. Okay, so I will leave the this proof up, and let's do this on Thursday. Let's go ahead and finish it up together. If you finish it up separately, awesome, great, good. Keep going. We'll finish it up together, though, and then we'll see what if any, questions you have left over involving the e-exam and the Canvas-based exam. And then we can move into our last module where we build on what we've done from the beginning of the semester to the culmination in what's known as quantifier logic. So before we leave off, questions, problems, confusions. Sounds to me like you're, from conversations we've had together and then that I've had independently with you, that you're really mastering the strategies as well as the tactics. So yay. What are you thinking?
I have a question about tutoring.
Mm-hmm.
Is tutoring only like for the embedded tutor? Like, are these the only hours, or can we go to any tutor?
Great question, Elizabeth. If I'm not mistaken, you can go into any tutor's hours, assuming that the tutor you visit can tutor Phil 9, and they'll help you.
Because I know we have an embedded tutor, right?
Yeah. Lindsay.
We had to stick with that tutor. Okay.
Yeah. Lindsay's fantastic, but maybe her hours don't work with yours. Do me a favor, please don't be shy about letting me know if you have any trouble with connecting with somebody, and then I can say, oh, well, you can talk to this person, this person, this person, because most all of our tutors have done work in Phil 9, and they're, if you will, Phil 9 tutor capable.
Yeah, I think there's two full 9 tutors available online. It's just we only have one embedded.
And what,
tutor,
yeah, you're
so.
exactly right. And then also, please don't be shy about saying, hey, Mia, I need help, but I can't come during your office hours. And I am happy to help you. Also, you know, don't be shy about working with each other. In fact, I think it's the case that we can set things up so that if you guys want to have your own kind of Zoom classroom meeting where it's like a study group, we can set that up, or you can set that up individually with small groups. I mean, I don't want you to, just because we're separated from each other, I don't want you to feel like you can't rely on each other for help. And obviously, I don't want you to feel that I'm only around during office hours and when we're in our virtual classroom. I'm around all the time, and a lot of the time. In addition, you might say, "Oh, well, I don't really want to get help from Mia because she doesn't help me." If that's the case, I hope you won't feel shy about saying, "Mia, I don't really want to come visit you. I want to get other help," and then I can arrange that or help you get that arranged.
Well, it's just I was really struggling with chapter 6, and I thought you said that we recorded, or that you were recording the lectures, and I was trying to find that, and I couldn't find them.
Oh no.
I
Okay.
mean, are you still recording them, or?
I am. So, for example, I
Uh,
recorded. So, sorry, Elizabeth, say again.
Oh, can you just show me real quick?
Sure.
They...
Okay. So sometimes I mess up where, like today, I knew I wanted to stop recording because we were going to work on an exercise that I didn't want out in the wild, but then I thought, but I hadn't even started recording in order to stop, right? So sometimes I mess up, but by and large, here's what you should look for. I am putting videos, I'm attaching videos not to a set of dates, but to whatever week the material was scheduled to be covered, right? So, for example, when we go back to, let's say, a couple weeks ago or a week ago, there's some stuff that might have occurred later, but that I put in the week of 4/6 to 4/12 because it's meant to be covered at that point. There are going to be times when, for example, Elizabeth, on the housekeeping item, I put a date here, but what I've tried to do is not put classroom meeting dates on a given set of videos, because I just want you to focus on whatever the topic is that you might need. So that's where.
But is last week's lecture up on there? Or I couldn't find.
Okay, so
last week's lecture.
Yeah, let's look together. So this is last week, right? I don't even know what day it is anymore. Yes. So.
Oh no, maybe I was looking at chapter 6. Okay, because I couldn't find. Okay, I think it's just because there's a lot of videos for chapter 6. I
kind of, so I'm gonna need you guys to tell me if my suspicion is right that there might be an overwhelming number of videos. And so I try to offer videos to appeal to a bunch of different styles and needs, learning styles and needs, but sometimes people can feel really overwhelmed. So I guess, so my advice, Elizabeth, then is this: focus on looking for a video that within a given week that covers a topic that you are interested in, more so than our class meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, I know exactly. I know it's the disjunctions or whatever. The one, not the. I know what. Which ones I'm struggling with is the subproofs of the.
Well, again,
but, I'm just trying. Yeah, it's not clicking for me. Or I'm just not really. I guess I'm just. I think it's because I don't really. I don't know. I'll have to practice more. for chapter 6.
Well, why don't
Figure out
you
my
and
question.
I plan to get together? And Jeremy just sent a note. Thank you, Jeremy, which is very helpful. He's reminded me anyway, that Connor also tutors logic, and he's terrific. So he's another option for us. But Elizabeth, don't think that you have to struggle through this alone. Let me know if you want to meet outside of office hours or just drop into office hours. We'll set up a time where we just basically we'll talk about what's bugging you. We'll find out kind of where the confusion lies, why you're being bugged, and then we'll move forward with how to address it. Does that help a little bit?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that helped. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
All right.
I'll just-
So I'm sorry, say again.
No, I'll just go to the other tutors, all the tutors.
Okay, go to tutoring and feel free
Yeah.
and if you run into any trouble, let me know, and I'll do my best to help as well. So, okay, so I'll see you guys on Thursday, hopefully, I hope, and then, but if not, I will record our meeting. The idea will be to do more practice with chapter 6 and 8. Let's also talk a little bit about working some translations, because we really don't spend a lot of time on that. And then we'll move into chapter 9. It's going to be super tons of fun. Okay.
Okay.
Kate's like, yeah, okay, Mia, sure. I think you'll have loads of fun. I'll see you guys on Thursday.